Just checking that you can hear me.
Good morning. Welcome to the WRWC Wednesday, August 20th, 2025 meeting. And we're going to go ahead and open with a roll call.
Paul Anderson.
Here.
Laura Andriolo.
Present.
Mary Luz Garcia.
Here.
Miguel Martinez.
Here.
Here. Kathleen Taylor. Diane Vanderwell.
Here.
Laura.
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Diane, would you mind opening us with the pledge?
Feel free to join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
And then we'll move into public comment. Do we have any public comment this morning? Okay. And then we'll move into approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of the minutes from the May 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Western Regional Water Commission. Do we have any changes, concerns about it, or do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Andriola, second by Garcia. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Move on to item 6, presentation report regarding the progress and status of source water and watershed planning activities. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, members of the commission. Kim Rigdon for the record. I wanted to just welcome Jeremy Smith, Director Smith of the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency. I feel like I'm leaning into this. Let me adjust just a minute here. And Director Smith is here today to help present on our source water protection program and our activities and some amazing tools that we've created and alignment with the regional plan. So we also wanted to recognize Cara Steeland, who is a senior hydrologist for Tumwa. She was unable to make it today, but she's a significant contributor to this effort. So I'll do my best to represent her slides. So to start out, I just thought it would be good to go through why do we have source water protection and water quality management programs, and what does that mean? So the Regional Water Management Plan is legislatively required, as is this, it created this body, to really provide comprehensive water resource planning. The water quality element is required. The WRWC Act does outline all the contents that the Regional Water Management Plan has to have included in it. And we have an entire chapter of that plan dedicated to water quality management. And in that is source water protection and watershed management. And so it is a required role that we play in coordinating these things regionally. And so there's 3 primary plans currently that we want to focus on today. We have a lot of plans under the Regional Water Management program as a whole, like the Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee, and you'll hear a little bit about that and some of the watershed assessments that are being done in a presentation later on in the morning. But what we're really focused on is the Truckee Meadows. I want to say TMRPA and Tumwa at the same time, so I'm trying not to use acronyms. But the Truckee Meadows Water Authority Water Resources Plan, the Natural Resources Plan, which is the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency latest addition to the regional plan, and the Washoe County Clean Water Program, which is what we are using as the regional source water protection non-point source management plan. And this is really exciting because we started off developing the Clean Water Plan, the source water protection and non-point source management plan back in 2015. And it was adopted by the board in 2020. And so it's fairly new. It's been being implemented for about 5 years now. And with the implementation of that plan, we're really reinforcing Tumwa's goals in their water resources plan to protect the drinking water supply. So what source water protection is it's really looking at all the source water out there that we use for potable drinking water that hasn't reached the pipe yet, that hasn't reached the treatment facility. And a primary concern is that most of that land that we're protecting, or the surface water or the land that contributes to the groundwater, is not owned by the agencies or by Tumwa. So we really have to work with the community to really implement and reach them and implement these measures to protect that drinking water supply. And that's what this program aims to do, is come up with strategies to work with the community and really mitigate human-caused activities and pollution contributions to our water supplies. And with that, I'm going to let Jeremy take over from here. I think you can go through the planning tools. One of the amazing things about working with the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency is their amazing, talented staff and their ability to help us to develop tools that are to implement the plan. And so I'm really excited to have Jeremy kind of talk about how they've been helping us with that.
Thank you, Kim, and good morning, everyone. Jeremy Smith for the record. Appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk to you about our work with Kim and the WRWC and NNWPC as well on this source water protection plan. So several years ago, we sort of started by providing technical support. That was our first role, and we were funded by NDEP as part of the 319 grant program there for around $20,000, I believe, to end up propping up a website and also building an online map. And so currently, we, through our Pantheon hosting, actually host the Washoe County Clean Water website and periodically do updates in coordination with Tumwa, with Kim and group, with RCI. At least once a year, more like 4 times a year, we meet and talk about things that are happening and make sure that everything is up to date. But you can find this at washoecountycleanwater.org, I believe, is the extension. Yep, we can keep going. And so this is really where the technical component came in for us, working with Tumwa and some other small water purveyors and Kim kind of gathering this data. We were able to prop up an online map viewer that displays both hydro basins as well as source water protection areas and critical source water protection areas. So on this map, you can see purple blobs and also a purple outline. So the source water protection area generally is the area contained within the purple outline. The critical source water protection areas are the dark purple. And so that is something that we are consistently maintaining. Typically, you're seeing probably a buffer around the Truckee River and tributaries of the Truckee, as well as areas around municipal wells that are part of our source water protection. And there's other data in there as well. And in fact, if you're clicking on a hydro basin, for instance, you can get in there and get access to a link that takes you right to the watershed reports for that. So it's kind of an integrated tool that just allows everyone to have access to the information. And as Kim mentioned, recently in December of 2024, we adopted the new version of the regional plan, the 2024 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. And that built on a complete overhaul that occurred in 2019. And from 2019 onward, we were working to better meet our state mandate as defined in the law that's actually called Contents of the Regional Plan. So we wanted to make sure that the regional plan had those contents. And one of the things that it described that we weren't doing a particularly good job of was natural resources. And so we took a deep dive into natural resources. We had a huge data gathering effort where we basically tried to get our hands around as much data about natural resources as we could. So thousands of data points, and those are available in the image to the right there, our natural resources data portal, which is online on our natural resources page. And you can go in there and search, maybe you're interested in source water. And so you would type that in there and then you would get results and it'll take you to different resources, including WashoueCountyCleanWater.org. But we also, so that's kind of the big storehouse that we're constantly adding to as we learn about reports, GIS data, official documents of any kind, links to websites. We're continuing to build that information gateway, if you will, But there's also a plan that goes along with it, and the plan is organized around 6 natural resource topic areas with top subtopics within. And it's all integrated, so you can search for topics within the portal and basically read narratives about stuff like climate change or possibly minerals and our history of mining and anything about the natural world that we were able to get, like I say, our arms around and describe. And it's a living document, so as things emerge or as we learn more, we can continue to update that document. So some more of the technical tools there. I can keep going. Yeah, and also, we introduced some new policies during the 2024 update. Specifically, these 4 natural resource policies, looking at source water, regional trails network, tribal coordination. Definitely wanted to up our game on talking and including the tribal governments in the region, and then something we're calling natural resource consideration areas. We can start with that first one, which is a fairly straightforward policy. The regional plan is often a guidance document. It's not ordinance, right? It's not necessarily the rules that we all follow, but it does promote the sorts of long-term goals we want to see for the region. And so in this particular policy, what we're asking is that local jurisdiction master plans and what we call affected entity facilities plans, so like the school district or the RTC's plan, acknowledge the existence of the 2020 Integrated Source Water and 319 Watershed Protection Plan for Public Water Systems and the Truckee River and the Truckee Meadows Plan, which is available at WashoueCountyCleanWater.org. And so we're basically making sure that all of those plans acknowledge that this exists and that folks should be using this information as part of their process when they're looking at developments or really looking at anything related to source water where it can help. And in fact, if there are interactions that are uncovered, then what we're doing is we're asking the appropriate folks, someone like Cara Steelen, for example, to provide us comments about that interaction with a given development or case we have to make sure that that information becomes part of the record. And in fact, if we go to the next slide, we do that at the beginning utilizing this new tool we created and also new policy, which we call natural resource consideration areas. So we did have in our regional plan something called development constraints areas, which is really kind of like hard boundary. Thou shalt not develop within this area. But just because maybe it's, say, the AE floodway, which is a very specific part of a flood zone, that is DCA constrained. But just when you get outside of it, you're still in the floodplain, right? And there's still these impacts we need to be considering. And so what we did is we created this natural resource consideration areas set of data, which helps describe some of those softer constraints and things we should be considering, and put it on a map viewer. It's available on our website. But further, we created a tool which allows us to take a polygon shape of a given subject site of a development and basically overlay it on all of these data layers that you can see there on the right, and the tool there is kind of at the bottom. And then you can get an understanding of the interactions. And so for any case that comes through regional planning, as soon as it's identified that our process is triggered, it's a PRS or it's a master plan change or anything that triggers our process, we will initially create a memo that talks about what we think, at the very beginning, because we come at the end. And there's nothing worse than telling someone you have a problem at the end after they've gone through the whole process. So we try to get out in front of it. And now we're including the thing you see at the very far bottom right, which is an excerpt from a printout or a readout that you get from these interactions, these GIS interactions. So day one, when we send our initial review memo, we opine on the policies that we think will probably be necessary for that case. But also, we provide all of this information so that the planner at the local jurisdiction and the folks that are applying, they have that info and they can address those things during the process. So that when we get to our process at the end, we can say, oh yeah, it looks like you took care of endangered species that we noticed. Or look, there's the source water protection interaction and you've acknowledged it and gotten the comments. And so this has become part of our regular business operating procedure that we do on every case. We provide that. And in fact, I will say we're working on the technology right now. We're doing the technology upgrade. But the idea being that anyone can go here and put in a polygon and get this same readout. And so that's forthcoming very soon. Thank you very much.
If I could just interrupt, I want to make sure that we recognize Member Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Sure.
So what I wanted to build on, Jeremy, what Director Smith was saying is we have, with this new way to really identify where a new business or new is to our critical and protection areas, we've created a process for those businesses and developments to, early on in the process, before they come in, understand where they're located and look at what potential contributing sources or activities that they might be doing that could impact the water supply. And TUMWA has been really significant in setting up a notification process. So if somebody's going into the city of Reno and they're applying, they have a business application in or a development application in, the city can, through these tools, can provide them with an initial, yes, you're in one of these areas, or no, you're not. And if they are in one of those areas, one of the requirements is to go to the TUMWA webpage at swpp.tumwa.com and click on there and let us know, or let TUMWA know, who they are, what their business is. And TUMWA has a list of contributing activities that they may or may not be concerned with, depending on the proximity to that sensitive receptor or that critical drinking water area. And they will make a determination at that point whether they need to contact the business and set up some meetings with the agencies and talk about that and see what they can do to mitigate those activities. So this is a really successful program. All the agencies are currently participating in this program. I think Sparks is now working with TUMWA to get on board with how they want to identify those contributing sources, because it's usually based on an activity. So each code is different in how they identify their different activities. So another implementation of the Source Water Protection Program recently was the Gold Ranch Fire Restoration Project, and Ms. Steeland also was leading this effort. So I hope to do it justice because she is amazing and she knows all about fire restoration. But what was really key in this was the reason we were able to move on this very quickly and get the funding was because we had an approved plan with NDEP. Because we worked to get that 319 plan completed and done and the Source Water Protection Plan done, we were able to call NDEP and coordinate and get technical assistance and funding from them. And the multiple partners that showed up for this restoration project to remove, for tree removal and erosion control and to spread seed and mulch materials was amazing. The Nevada Division of Forestry was involved. We had the NDOW Division of Wildlife, of course, NDEP, TUMWA led the effort, and One Truckee River was involved to make sure that they were helping with getting technical assistance in 319 grant funding. So what this program has really offered us is a way to really regionally collaborate, bring tons of partners together when we need to pretty quickly and get the funding that we need to get the projects taken care of. So this was a big success story. And with that, we just wanted to turn the time back over to the board and see if there's any questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. That was great presentation. Question?
I had a question. I was on your website, Commissioner Garcia, for the record. I see on the interactive map, which is a really great tool you have online, there's the source water protection area, and then there's one that's critical. What differentiates the regular one from critical?
Yeah, I think I'll turn that question over to Kim as the water expert.
Okay, so the way that they delineate those zones is you typically have a time of travel to the source. So when water is traveling underground or if it's traveling in a surface water, if it's underground, it could take, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending on how close it is to a wellhead. If you're in the surface water body, it's how long does it take for that contamination event to flush through that system, and it won't impact those drinking water intakes anymore. So it really is based in timing and time of travel of the water. So more critical area would be you have less time to respond and react or plan for the remediation that you would need to keep that source a viable source, while the other areas are a little bit softer, you have a little bit more time.
Any other questions? Okay, so I was just asked a question in regard to the matrix of source water as far as protections and improvements. So what they were asking specifically is how can they go into the system and see if we're actually protecting the water and are there measurable changes to the water quality as a result of the work?
Well, I guess I would hope that there aren't water quality changes because you're really trying to meet Safe Drinking Water Act requirements for drinking water. So we don't have water quality, we don't go and sample to see if there's water quality improvements. We hope that through these activities, we're delivering safe drinking water in accordance with our regulations, and Tumwa delivers quality water. They've also, through the spill response group, have a really robust response to emergencies and contamination events. One way we do quantify that Cara Steelan does is how many of these businesses and developments, report that they're in these areas, and then Tumwa is able to follow up with the ones that they have the most concern with. And I think she had said, I actually have it here, there were 142 submittals received in 2024, and of those, Tumwa followed up with and communicated with 32 of those projects. So that's a way to quantify how effective we're being, and it's a great tool.
Perfect.
Please.
Jeremy Smith for the record. Just to add to that, we're also tracking, I think annually, and making available on the site the changes that we undertake. So as we learn more information or change an approach slightly or get a watershed profiles update or something to that effect, that information is tracked and available. So you can see our activity in the background as well.
Any other questions before we move on?
Great questions.
Looks like we'll close item number 6 and move to item number 7, presentation report regarding progress and status of Nevada Innovative Institute studies and projects supported by the Regional Water Management Fund. Kim, it looks like you're back.
Yeah.
Or still here, I should say.
Actually, we're on item 7, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I am pleased, members of the commission, to invite Dr. Krishna Pagilla and Dr. Laura Hawk with the Nevada Water Innovation Institute. Dr. Pagilla is the director of the Nevada Water Innovation Institute with UNR, and Dr. Hawk is a research scientist, and they will be presenting on the projects and support that they've been providing to the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission over the last year. So we'll hear from them, and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn my chair over to them.
Okay. Good morning, and if you would, go ahead and state your name for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. For the record, my name is Krishna Pagilla at the University of Nevada, Reno.
And I'm Laura Huck with the University of Nevada, Reno.
We'll give you a brief update on the initiatives that have been funded by the Nevada Water Planning Commission as well as Western Regional Water Commission, but we want to give you a little historical perspective. I know a couple of the commissioners haven't seen our updates in the recent past, but sometime later we'll come and talk about much broader. As you know, this is the Nevada Water Innovation Institute team that's at the university, founded by the 6 agencies that, sorry if I can go back, there should have been logos here. So we'll basically Washoe County, Reno, Sparks, Western Regional Water Commission, Tumwa, and Nevada Department of Transportation. So Mr. Smith from Washoe County is the chair of the Board of Advisors. So we operate similar to any other public agency and have meetings according to the Nevada statute, open meeting laws every 3 months. And Trina Magoon from City of Reno is the current vice chair. I have my colleague Eric Marchand is the associate director of the Nevada Water Innovation Institute. And at the bottom are the key researchers. We have many students who work on these projects funded by not only the Western Regional Water Commission, but broader the cities and county and Tumwa. And I'm joined by Dr. Laura Hawk here today. She will make much of the technical presentation. Just for the commissioners who haven't seen this, that just a historical perspective on how this was funded and how we evolved over the years. About approximately 10 years ago, we had discussions with the regional agencies, and they felt there is a need for bringing the agencies together on common pursuits, things that impact all the agencies, similar to what you've seen with the source water protection. So that's when we started. In fact, the first project that was funded by this commission was to explore the benefits and costs of using reclaimed water as a source for drinking water in the future, which we call in many ways now One Water Nevada project. So that was 2016, and over time, we had several projects as well as milestones along the way. So what we want to focus on are these projects. The two projects are the Regional Water Management Coordination that's funded, and then also the Regional Enhanced Source Control Monitoring that Laura will talk about. And as part of that effort, we also created a watershed symposium to look at who is doing water in the region, how we can do the watershed protection. And of course, the big program that's going on is the A+ program, which is the One Water Nevada project at Reno State in American Flag. So our efforts right now, specific to this morning's discussion, is we are continuing to support the One Water Nevada Advanced Purified Project. We are every year we are hosting the Truckee River Watershed Symposium, Laura will talk about, and then the main aspects of regional water management program support, how we manage the effluent from the plants, how it's being used, and then enhanced source control. As you heard the previous presentation talk about source water protection from a watershed upstream perspective, this enhanced source control is what is happening in the sewer sheds where people are living. So it's more in the sewers that are in each of the regions. So you'll see that. So by doing enhanced source protection means identifying point sources that might be discharging to sewers, things of concern, we will eliminate the need to remove them from the wastewater and ultimately getting into our receiving water bodies, whether it's the Truckee River or going into the ground type stuff. So that's a very important part. And Laura will articulate another reason why NDP requires that if you want to pursue water use for potable purposes. And of course, we do lots of other activities that she'll mention, one which really benefits Tumwharf and Reno State and South Truckee. This is the advanced, the lot of text. I don't expect you to read that, but basically we are continuing to provide support as this project evolves. And it's, I believe in the last couple of days, they were doing 90% design review. So as things happen and when we are able to attend public meetings as well as, I'll show you a slide, we are continuing to develop technologies and processes and how we monitor these systems so that we are ready to implement when time comes. So for example, this is what we call the previous slide you saw the trailer. This is One Water Nevada trailer, which we have developed regionally here. And that trailer we are refurbishing. So possibly in the next 3 or 4 months when you go up to the Reno State, you'll be able to tour it and see. And basically we have made it to a scale where we can operate it ourselves and advance some of the technologies and how we can optimize them, also monitor them. So basically the figure on the right gives you how it's laid out inside the trailer, which mimics exactly what the One Water Nevada treatment train is for making drinking water out of reclaimed water from Reno State. So that's so we developed this, and it's as we speak, it's being tested for hydraulic testing and so on and so forth. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Laura Hawk. She'll talk about the two regional water management support as well as enhanced source control.
Thanks. So this slide really just gives a brief overview of what enhanced source control is in the context of wastewater treatment. And the boxes, the colorful boxes, are highlighting an important design feature when we're designing wastewater treatment. Is each of these processes are providing a barrier against a certain type of pollutant or category of pollutants that we need to control for. And what's often overlooked is that our first barrier, first line of defense, is in source control. It's either in preventing or putting pretreatment on discharges from point sources before they make their way to the collection system. And conventionally, this is really targeting things that could cause risk to infrastructure or impede treatment downstream, or that would present a risk for the effluent to the environment or other reuse options. Under enhanced source control, we're broadening what we're looking at and also looking for more collaborative ways to solve for pollutants that are of concern. So here we'll not just look at our conventional wastewater pollutants, but also looking at drinking water pollutants as well as unregulated pollutants. And I'll be talking a little bit more later on about one unregulated pollutant that's a concern because it can actually form a disinfection byproduct, which is regulated then. And so what we're doing in the enhanced source control program is really, we're looking to, first off, be proactive in addressing the requirements for the category for generating potable reuse water in the One Water Nevada efforts. So this will allow us to be ahead of any regulatory requirements and ensure that the long-term source control program in the Reno Sedge sewer shed is addressing the actual regional specific concerns based on what dischargers are in that sewer shed and what the unique challenges are for that sewer shed. And then we're also looking more broadly at the other larger sewer sheds in the region at Truckee Meadows and at South Truckee Meadows. And we're developing individualized criteria for our monitoring programs and then using those monitoring programs to characterize our baseline water quality and then what the long-term goals should be so that we aren't creating some long-term headaches that are unsupported by the actual data for monitoring frequency and everything. So ideally minimizing the cost long-term for those facilities. I'll just quickly highlight previous work that we've done is developing sampling programs and also reviewing the existing programs at the 3 largest facilities, and specifically highlighting the Reservoir Baseline program. We're 1.5 years into conducting the monitoring work there, so we have an excellent data set, and now we're really just collecting the final data to be able to say what our long-term proposals are for that. In Tumworth, we're looking to get off the ground in the coming months as they work out their specific needs and we finalize the plans. And then I just want to quickly highlight one of the big outcomes from the Reno STED program has been characterizing what the sources are for this bromide pollutant. Again, bromide is an unregulated pollutant, but it can form bromate, which is a carcinogenic disinfection byproduct. So we are looking to identify what the sources are, and we've conducted monitoring across the sewer collection system. So not just at Reno, the reservoir facility, but also we've divided that sewer shed into sub areas to try to understand how the bromide that's making its way to reservoir is varying across the collection system. And what you can see from the map there, highlighted, in the yellow ringed in purple dot that's where we see this very high bromide concentration coming in. And when we did load estimates, you can see in the pie charts at site 4, it's the actual load of bromide coming from that region is disproportionate to the actual flow. So we see that there's some specific sources happening in that sub-collection system. So we've been working with the city to continue the monitoring, and we have found that although infiltration and inflow from groundwater is an important source, there also appears to be a point source happening in that area that will look more into how we can collaboratively do control. And then moving on, under the Regional Water Management Plan, we've been providing different support for Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission and working with Kim. This has included reviewing several different chapters, and also a big part of the effort has been working on the mapping tool, where we've essentially gone from looking at fact sheets that summarized important information about different effluent management alternatives, as well as important information about each of the water reclamation facilities. But we've taken all that information that's somewhat dynamic as priorities change for the different agencies, or certain things become infeasible, or cost change and things like that. So Kim had the vision that it would make the most sense to move this to a digital tool, and that would really allow also for it to integrate well with other digital tools. So we have developed this tool that's currently being reviewed by the directors and will be doing updates. And as you heard with Jeremy also, a major advantage of having this as a digital tool, these types of resources as digital tools, is it allows not just for us to have more up-to-date information that's current and relevant to the actual alternatives being considered, but also it allows us to link to the data sources. So you'll see when you're going through there, the references, as well as figures like process flow diagrams and things like that, that give you actual important information that couldn't easily be conveyed in a simple fact sheet. Then other parts of our efforts have been working on the Truckee River Watershed Symposium. We hosted back in May our second annual Truckee River Watershed Symposium. Some of the presenters are actually in this room. It included both professors from the university, but also people from the different agencies that are working on some of these incredible projects. And so that really gave us excellent interplay and discussion between the actual applied side and the theoretical side, and helped to bring together the community for more discussion. And we'll be looking to host our next one in August of 2026, I believe, tentatively. And here's the actual schedule. You can see it was a 2-day event this year, which was actually an increase. Our first year, we kept it a little smaller and kept it as just 1 day. So this really allowed us to highlight a much larger diversity of projects.
Interdisciplinary.
Yes, that's right. It was extremely interdisciplinary. So we had people, we've had, some professors from the physics department, hydrology, the biologists, a broad diversity of things, and research all relevant to the Truckee River. And it also included some not-for-profits like One Truckee River organization. And then another important aspect that we have been working on is workforce development. And so this past spring, we also, at Tumwart, the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility, we hosted this nutrient workshop to help with training. The attendees included operators, staff from each of the cities and the county, as well as consulting staff, to educate them about nutrient removal processes, and provide their CEUs also for their continued education. And thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And do we have any questions from members?
I do. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm very talkative today for some reason. This body established this and founded this back in 2017, but are you funded through the university? Your positions, I imagine you have research and classes that you're all responsible for.
Yes, I'm fully funded by the university.
Okay.
I'm a full-time professor and chair. And Laura is funded by projects that we conduct for the member agencies as well as federal agencies. One of the really important outcome of this, working with our local partners, is that we've been able to leverage the projects that we do for our local agencies to go after nationally comparative. We have now funding from Department of Energy, National Science. We still have it. We haven't lost it. National Science Foundation, U.S. Department of Defense, working on various things in the labs. I normally show the slide with all the students we have had on these projects. I don't think we have it in this presentation, but Laura is a product of the projects. She's the one who worked on the first 2016, the Western Regional Water Commission funded project, looking at triple bottom line assessment of doing reclamation of water to potable reuse, and that's her PhD work. Yeah, so we do get funded by other sources. Of course, I am full-time state funded.
The reason I ask is because, this water source control seems to be a more cost-effective way than waiting till it gets to the water purveyors and the distribution site. So would you say that this is a proactive, cost-effective way to prevent some of these pollutants from having large impact?
Absolutely. It does depend on the pollutants. Some are difficult to control, something like pharmaceuticals where it might be coming from residential households with as far as emerging pollutants, but some of them are very effectively controlled by identifying a point source and finding either control or treatment options.
Thank you. And actually, kind of along that last part of the question there, should something move through the treatment facility and on towards the plant, what steps are there to prevent that water from actually going into the drinking water? What measures are taken to prevent that from happening?
I don't know if you want me to
So
answer.
if, you know, in a larger, our sewer shed basically dictate what comes in. If somebody does it intentionally, that's something, a bigger challenge, but we still have enough time in the system from the source to before it goes into a water body. Actually, one of the more immediate effect is it affects the plant itself. So when something comes in that is harmful to biological life, there is biology in the treatment plant. It will affect immediately. So we know automatically that the bugs which are supposed to do wastewater treatment aren't breathing anymore, and you can sense it immediately, dissolved oxygen levels dropping. So this hasn't happened in many cases, whether here or around the world. It's a rare occurrence right now. But on a normal day-to-day operations, we don't expect any surprises unless it's an unintentional spill. Then that will show up in the various units across the treatment process. If you think about it, the wastewater from leaving a home till getting to the receiving water or some reuse is going to take maybe a couple of days before. So you do the influent monitoring that tracks that as well.
Thank you. And I guess kind of just circling back. So in other words, if it moves out of the plant and maybe even it's alarmed after it leaves the plant, what you're saying is that there are enough monitoring steps before it goes into the drinking source.
In our case, in the wastewater, the drinking source is upstream of any discharges. So we are good in that. It's really in systems where cities are dependent upon downstream cities are dependent. So really, we have Chalk Bluff up north, some work down south. So still.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. And number 8, it's an action item. Approval of scope of work funding not to exceed $612,654 from the Regional Water Management Fund with a project completion date of June 23rd, 2028 for the NWII to provide regional water management coordination and technical support.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, members of the Commission, Kim Rigdon for the record. Let me see if I'm up and running. There we go. I just wanted to thank Dr. Pagilla and Dr. Hawk for the last presentation. It feeds really nicely into this budget request for their proposal. And I just wanted to, I love the connection that's being made between protecting the sewer shed and also protecting the source water, because they are one and the same when you think about, the bigger picture of one water. So that was a great tie-in for source water protection and sewer shed protection. So in the board packet, you should see under item 8A is the scope of work proposal for the university. I know it looks like a big sticker shock when you look at the front, but this is for a 3-year contract. And so back in October, the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission had prioritized the work that Nevada Water Innovation does with the One Water Nevada initiative and the leadership that they provide and the support they provide for regional water management plan activities altogether and the technical assistance. That this was a big top priority for them. They scored very high on that and they wanted to prioritize this. Sometimes we'll get priority setting activities where we say, well, do we partially fund a project or do we fully fund a project? How do we do this? This is a project that the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission really scored highly to get fully funded over the next 3 years. So I just wanted to emphasize that. And they did make a recommendation for the board to approve this contract. I wanted to give, Krishna kind of already went through, Dr. Pagila already went through many of the project, tasks in his last presentation. I wanted to say, I give a shout out, John Enlow is in the room, Director Enlow, and he really was the brain behind and the vision behind the Truckee River Watershed Symposium. And that really has been beneficial in connecting academia to the local water planning departments and understanding what we're both doing. Because sometimes when you don't have that connection, you're not quite sure where the research is going and they're not quite sure what the water planning agencies are doing. So making that connection has been very valuable. That's a really valuable piece of our scope of work here. So I didn't know if, Dr. Pagila, you wanted to make any more comments here, or?
I do not. I think the tasks are on there if the commissioners have questions on.
Perfect. So the budget for this contract for the next 3 years is in fiscal year 26. The ask is 198,154. Fiscal year 27 is 204,245, and fiscal year 28 is 210,255. And I just wanted to point out that fiscal year 2026 has already been approved in the budget. Fiscal year 27 and 28 will be subject to the future priority setting for those years with the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission, as well as the budget approval through the WRWC. So you'll be seeing that on the budgets as they come through each year. It's not going to be something that is going to be a surprise. And then we also are fulfilling this ILA with the idea that they will be able to use the money that they don't use in a previous fiscal year in a following fiscal year. And the reason that's important on technical assistance contracts is because we don't know what the local planning agency's schedules are just yet. And if there's a need, UNR has been so flexible in addressing our needs when we need them, that we like having the flexibility of saying, okay, we may not use it for this 6-month period in fiscal year 26, but we'll need that budget in fiscal year 27 for that task. So being able to carry that money forward is really important for us to meet the agency's needs as far as that technical assistance. And with that, we'll take any questions from the board on the scope of work or proposal.
Yes, Member Taylor.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I support the project, support the work. It's very important. My question is a fiscal one. If this is phased, is this project phased in a way where if we move forward with this and something were to happen in FY 27-28 where the funding wasn't available, would the work be done in 26 still be applicable and usable moving forward? So basically, we're not losing any amount of scope of work in the project.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is that if there was work started in fiscal year 26 and then we didn't have funding for 27 and 28, would we still be able to complete that work?
Yes.
As long as the funding from 26 has been approved, then that funding should remain there until they use that funding.
So
That's
the work in that
obligated
phase is
funding.
still valuable and meaningful to the overall project, and it won't
Exactly.
be lost if 27 and 28 don't get approved.
Well, I think it depends on the project. If it's a technical assistance project where they're providing support, if there's not funding available for 27 and 28, it's probably impacting more than just the WRWC budget. And so we would be working with the water planning agencies to figure out the tasks and prioritize those tasks to make sure that that project kept moving forward.
And this is a priority through the Northern Nevada section,
Yes.
so it is already
Hold
been
those
vetted as a
annually.
priority for this group. Thank you.
Yes, that annual priority setting is really important for the Water Planning Commission members to get together, and they have a really good outlook of what the budget will look like.
Yes, Member Andriola.
I didn't know if we were dancing or I wasn't sure. I don't have a question, but I do want to say thank you and for everyone doing an amazing amount of work. And I feel it's important to echo Kim Rigdon's point of John Enlow being really the brainchild of really connecting what seems like a very common sense approach, right? And not duplicating services and really having everyone, and pardon the pun, swimming in the right direction. But I also think that most people don't realize that Mr. Enlow was not that long ago recognized at a national level at a water reuse symposium that we attended. Several of us on this commission attended, and I don't want to lose track of. That's a really prestigious accolade that you received, and we're really lucky to have your intellect, knowledge, and the partnerships that we see because of that. So thank you for being here, and thanks for all your hard work.
And thank you. And I just want to check in, Member Dewar, do you have any questions?
No, I really appreciated no questions. I wasn't going to chime in except to say I really appreciated the whole presentation, and I really appreciate the work that's occurring, and I'm supportive of the budget that's been allocated. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And actually, I just want to echo that and say, yeah, thank you for the work that y'all have been doing, because you're getting us to the next level of water resource, being able to use it to the fullest here. So I appreciate what you're doing. Work. Yes, go ahead, please, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I appreciate the presentation and similar comments to my colleagues have said. I think that it's important work that we're doing to advance. I'm curious a little bit to talk about under task 3, the regionalization initiatives that you're a part of under the scope of work. I know that this body had hired a consultant to do some of the lead efforts, and just wondering how your efforts combine with that other agency, and what are some of the stakeholder engagement opportunities that you're planning to host. And again, really appreciative of your work with the university and the collaboration with our regional partners to make sure that we're providing the best services. So thank you.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Martinez. For that specific piece, we do have subject matter experts assisting with that. Raf Tallis is helping us with the financial and administrative, looking at feasibility of the regionalization of wastewater facilities. What we're looking for UNR to be able to provide support for is their knowledge of everything that's happening with the wastewater facilities technically. And with Dr. Hawk's assistance with the regional water management plan update, and having been involved with all of the wastewater planning and effluent planning since 2017, since we've been engaging them, they bring really good leadership and expertise and support to those workshops and sessions that might be planned. So it's a good point to bring up that some of the tasks are included as if needed. If we need to call them into a meeting, if we need to utilize their professional services, we will. If they're not needed, then those items probably will not be utilized. But this is the wonderful thing about the Nevada Water Innovation Institute, is they have this broad area of providing us technical support, and they're very flexible in bringing their expertise to those different areas. And so that one will be as we identify need. And we'll be working with them on what the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission priorities are each year, where we refine those tasks and then call them in where we see they fit into those planning projects. Did that answer? Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? This is an action item, and if we have someone that's willing to make a motion, I'd appreciate it.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion by Member Andriola.
Second.
Second by Member Hill. And by the way, I'm sorry I did not recognize your presence in person. Thank you. And we have a motion and a second by Member Hill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to 9,
Thank you.
presentation report regarding progress and status of the Trekkie Meadows Stormwater Quality Management Program and watershed assessments. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Birgit Whittegren for the record, and I would like to introduce Chris Holman, who is the Senior City Engineer at the City of Reno, and he's also the coordinator for the Trekkie Meadows Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee. It's another mouthful. And he is here to do a presentation on the Stormwater Quality Management Program that has been prioritized for funding since 2011. As well as the recently completed watershed assessments on tributaries to the Trekkie River. So with that, Mr. Holman. Oops. There we go.
Yeah, so thank you, Birgit, and thank you to the Commission for this opportunity to speak today. I wanted to provide a high-level update on what we've been up to since the last time we were here. First update is that I took over for Teresa Jones. She did a wonderful job of shepherding the program for the better part of a decade. So just wanted to recognize her.
On the wrong way.
Yeah, a quick reminder of what the basis of the Stormwater Committee is. Really, it revolves around, and I apologize, it's been a very acronym-heavy morning, and I'm going to continue that trend, but the basis is our MS4 permit, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Permit. And that really authorizes discharge of stormwater to the Truckee River. So the committee is made up of 2 members of cities of Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County. And a requirement of the permit is to develop a stormwater management program. And that really outlines all of the controls that each jurisdiction will use to limit, reduce, and eliminate pollutants from getting into stormwater. We're still operating under the 2010 permit and the 2011 stormwater management program. We have received notice from NDEP that they expect to have a draft permit towards. So that MS4 permit is broken into a few different elements that you see before you. The ones on the right are really elements that each jurisdiction would take care of individually. So implementing controls to ensure that pollutants don't get into stormwater from construction sites, municipal operations, industrial activities, development. And then the elements that you see on the left that are highlighted, those are really the functions of stormwater. So intergovernmental coordination, public outreach and education, and monitoring. And then one other big one is that we're required to put together an annual report each year for NDEP to document. So before we get into updates on all those program elements, I did want to touch on the budget briefly. So a reminder of what goes into the budget. So we did receive $262,500. So thank you for that. Of that, the bulk of it is our monitoring program. So that's jointly funded between WRWC and NDOT, 75-5 split. So the WRWC contribution is $178,000, $11,000 for a USGS stream gauge maintenance, and then $11,500 for kind of our miscellaneous items. And I want you to remember that for the next slide. But those miscellaneous items are really all the things that are above and beyond our yearly activity. So if we have to rewrite manuals, we want to provide a trends analysis on the monitoring data that we're doing, more robust public outreach events. Those are the things that would go into those miscellaneous items. And then we have $4,000 for field supplies and equipment for monitoring updates. And that's really just a yearly cost, but we expect higher costs from time to time as equipment comes to $55,000 to fund a position that helps with all of the coordination for the committee, and that position is also responsible for writing that annual report. So that position is with the city of Reno because we are the lead agency and permit. $3,000 for public outreach and education, and then additionally, we were funded $65,000 for watershed tributary assessment. And then real quick, before we leave that slide, I did want to point out that all of those individual components that the jurisdictions fund in that table in the bottom right, that shows how much. So I did want to point out the way that monitoring continues to overwhelm our overall budget. So the graph here, what I tried to represent is the bar on the left is really the total budget for the year, and then the green bar is our monitoring costs. So the darker part of the bar is WRWC funding, and then the lighter is NDOT. And so you'll see that year over year, that monitoring budget continues to become a much bigger component. And it's not unexpected. We've seen across all industries that costs are going up. This our consultant fees, lab fees, things that we do expect to go up. And so with that, like we talked about before, the miscellaneous items, that budget continues to shrink. And so all of those extra things that we would like to provide each year, there's less of an opportunity. So I only point that out because in the future, we will have to make some tough decisions on whether or not to augment funding or reduce the services that provides. So here's the fun one, but our public outreach and education. We do a lot of different events each year, but it's really our opportunity to reach out to the general public and educate them on the ways that their activities affect pollutants getting into stormwater. And so just a few highlights from the last year. We've done stenciling to help educate people on ways that pollutants do get into stormwater, like getting into catch basins. Next is our outreach to students, which is the most fun. They're the most engaged audience, I guess. We do a lot of those each year. And then the photo in the upper right, we worked with a local laborers union to install beaver fencing on large trees along the Truckee River, and they did a great job. Very quick work out for them. And then we work with local organizations to purchase dog food bags. That is a source. So next, our water quality monitoring, we talked about, is a really big function of the committee. And so that's really a program that we work with Balance Hydrologics, and they have 16 sites throughout the watershed where they monitor 12 tributary sites and 4 urban outfalls, so really where a storm drain pipe enters the Truckee River. And they do sampling and analysis to see what sort of pollutant levels we're seeing year over year. We are required to update a sampling and analysis plan each year and send that into NDEP. And so with that, this last year, and I'll get into it on the next slide, but we did task Balance with providing a water quality analysis. You can go to the slide. And so that really gets into looking at the monitoring data over. So Balance provided a statistical analysis for roughly the last 10 years for 8 different sites for the 3 constituents that the Truckee River has TMDLs for, so total maximum daily loads, the amount of pollutant that the river can handle. And so they took a look at all of that data for each of those sites, and it really gives us a high-level look at looking for red flags in the watershed, ways that we can become more efficient with our program. You'll see from that table that for the most part, we have some ups, we have some downs, and then we have places that are unchanged. And so those sites that are unchanged, something that we can do is become more efficient with our program and say, hey, this site has showed data unchanged for the last 10 years. Maybe it makes the most sense to move that site to somewhere else so we get a better idea. And then the other component of our overall monitoring effort, we combine sampling and analysis with watershed assessments on the tributaries within the Truckee Meadows. So there's, I think, 26 of those broken into 3 separate reaches for each. And each year we try and assess as many as we can. In 2024, continuing into 25, we assessed 9 reaches. NCE was the consultant that did that work for us. And they looked at Alum Creek, Somerset, Galena, Thomas, and Whites. And overall, what we saw is that things remained unchanged since the last time the tributaries were assessed, except for Whites Creek. And that was not unexpected. That one was identified to be assessed because of a big precipitation event that happened. And what the assessment really showed is that our streams are very sensitive to precipitation events. So as jurisdictions, it's important that we maintain setbacks from those creeks, allow for as much riparian vegetation as possible so that the stream. And my last slide, I just wanted to say thank you. We did receive funding for another round of watershed assessments, and the committee has begun our efforts to select which tributaries we will be assessing. So that process is really, each jurisdiction will point out the things that have happened in the watershed that may be notable. So whether it's development or restoration projects, floods, fires, we'll look at those things, reach out to other agencies to see if they have any, and then look at the map that I have before you is really when the last time each reach has been assessed. So reaches that don't have a lot of changes will assess less frequently. That, thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Great information. Thank you very much. Questions? Wow, you did so well. We don't even have any.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Member Hill.
I am just curious what the future of this program is. So if you're concerned that we're spending the bulk on monitoring, and I know that there was an effort by the city of Reno with the stormwater program, and I know Washoe, we wanted to see what y'all were going to do, and just curious what you're looking.
Right now, I think we're in a little bit of a holding pattern because we're still operating under the 2010 permit. So the early indications from NDEP is that the permit will not have changes. So I think in general, we'll status quo. But the funding aspect does get challenging. But for right now, we don't see any major.
Member Andriola.
I actually was going to ask a question, just piggybacking off of that, the slide that you had in terms of the bars over the years and monitoring being the subject. I wonder if there's a possibility of you looking at what those dollars are and the projections and the impact of that, because the bars are very clear in terms of what those differences are between the monitoring and the funding versus what that capacity is. But I think it's helpful to understand what kind of impact that is, and also what is that cost differential. So I don't know if there's a plan for that in the future, but I think that would be helpful just in terms of planning for all jurisdictions to be aware as well.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And one thing that we have started to do is to develop a 5-year plan in a sense of all of those miscellaneous items so that we can get a sense of what are the critical things that we need to provide and what's more of a wish. So that'll help us for future so that we can tackle.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. And that brings us to item 10, Program Manager Update.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the Commission, Kim Rigdon for the record. So you've heard from a lot of our other projects. Normally in our June meeting, I submit a pretty robust project update. I included in your board packet a summary of all of our projects, and it should show you a very short summary of what that scope of work is, as well as the progress that was made in the last fiscal year on those projects. So I won't go over the ones where you just heard about. I'll just do a couple highlights so that we can keep moving on. I think one of the projects that you'd be most interested in is the wastewater regionalization. feasibility study. So we held a kickoff meeting in June with the regional agencies and the working group, which was great. And Raf Tallis was able to get a bunch of feedback on next steps and how they should schedule follow-up meetings with the different agencies. They subsequently held meetings with the different agencies in July and met with senior leadership staff so that they could learn more about what initially rises to the top as far as issues and concerns and challenges. And after I met with them last week, and after kind of regrouping after those meetings, a lot of information over a 2 to 3 day time period, they feel, and we got feedback from leadership at the different communities, that they would like to meet more. Some of the desire was from the agencies, our staff need more time. So they're going to set up some follow-up meetings with the agencies to really better understand some of the nuances of how the departments work together in the administrative tasks, specific to like the stormwater overlapping with sewer operations and those sorts of things, so that they can really, wrap their minds around how it works at each of the different agencies and get the specifics. The meetings were very successful, and it was very interesting even for us to learn, because we don't know all the history and we don't work at the different agencies, so it was good for us to learn, the staff too, and guide the project. So that's where we're at. We're hoping that we'll be able to bring a presentation that will be an update on what's going on, how, what their initial impressions are at the joint meeting in November. So that would be a really good meeting, because we talk about priorities moving forward, and they'll be able to come and give a report on what they've learned and what they think the next steps are. So, other project updates. Sierra Nevada Journeys is doing great. They have developed One Water Nevada curriculum to share with the different schools. And so they've been doing a great job. They reached 33 schools this year, and they've reported that they had 2,665 individuals attending and participating in their activities at the booth. So that's pretty impressive. And also, One Truckee River is one of our favorite outreach projects, and they have developed a river-friendly living program. And at Lake Park, they were significantly responsible for coordinating and developing what they're calling river-friendly living for residents that live in the proximity to a tributary to the Truckee River or the Truckee River corridor. And they have a garden there that they take groups through and they walk them through, and they show them what plants work really well and what vegetation doesn't, and how they should be, landscaping, how they could be landscaping their yards to help protect the river. So that's been fun. I'm hoping to get Iris here to do a presentation. We just had too much going on today for me to do one more presentation. So, but that'll be a fun presentation too, to learn more about how she's been interacting with the public. Other than that, highlights, and I just wanted to offer an opportunity for questions from the board on any of the specific projects.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Any questions about the report? All right. That was smooth sailing.
All right.
So then we'll move on to item 11, a discussion, possible direction to staff regarding agenda items and dates of future WRWC meetings.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. Kim Rigdon for the record. So our next scheduled meeting is October 15th. And that is our review of our financial statements. So we're going to be going through our audit this next month, and we'll bring those forward. We also, at the recommendation of Member Dewar, secured Barry Baker, I want to say Perry Baker, Perry. Our state climatologist is going to come and do a presentation for you in that October meeting, Baker Perry. So unless there's any other suggestions or recommendations from the board, that's all I have.
Any other suggestions or anything you'd like to see come before us here?
Just add, if I may, Mr. Chair, I'm very excited about Baker Perry coming. Some of you may have seen him speak, but I think most of you have not. He's a super dynamic speaker, and he's had a wealth of experience, and he's our state climatologist. And so all of his work goes into helping formulate, our planning efforts, whether it's for drought or flood or future water supplies on both Western Regional Water Commission and Tamwa. So I think it should be really interesting for us. And he'll have about a year under him at this point.
Great. Thank you, Member Dewar. Appreciate the recommendation on that. I think that's it. We'll move on to item 12, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay, we have no public comment, so we'll move on to 13, commission comments. All right, we're sailing right through this. 14, staff comments.
No staff comments, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we're going to adjourn.